Just give me 1 sec to check that we are streaming. All right, we are live. You're good to go.
We'll bring this meeting to order for the Board Authority meeting of May 17th. Next, I think Elizabeth would like to do a roll call.
Lori Baldwin Sands,
Here.
Frank Burrs, Jim Herbert,
Here.
Grant Jones,
Here.
Sharon McMillan sent regrets, Todd Noble.
Yes.
Sam Trousseau. Absent, John Wilson.
Present.
Mr. Chair, we have quorum.
Thank you. Board members, staff, guests, and members of the public are reminded the full authority board/committee meeting is being recorded and will be posted to the authority's website along with the official written minutes. As such, comments and opinions expressed may be published and are the comments expressed by the individual board members, guests, and general public are their own and do not represent the opinions or comments of the full authority and or Kettle Creek Conservation Authority Board of Directors. The recorded video of the full authority meeting is not considered the official record of that meeting. The official record of the full authority meeting shall consist solely of the minutes approved by the full authority. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, next item is minutes from the previous meeting. Any errors or omissions?
Move the minutes.
Lori moves, seconder, please. John? Any further discussion? All in favor? Oh,
I have to do roll call, sorry. Lori Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Frank Burrs,
yes.
Herbert,
Yes.
Noble,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Move down to matters arising. First one is meeting report from Mary Ann.
Yeah. Good morning. So in terms of media report, I've just wanted to share some of our present social media posts that you'll find on our pages, as well as some updates around our conservation areas. Last week, we updated some of our trail maps at Lake Whitaker. And so what you see on the screen is the new trailheads at Dayuse Beach and Lakeshore Beach, as well as a sign that you'll see at Dan Patterson as you pass by Highbury, promoting the food truck festival that the Kettle Creek Environmental Trust is hosting next month.
Hey, any questions for Mary Ann? Go ahead, John.
Just a comment, me and my family were back at Lake Whitaker and the signs look great and we love hitting the trails back there, so awesome.
Okay. There's nothing else. Thank you, Mary Ann. Move down to project tracking. I think Elizabeth's going to do this one.
Yeah, just some highlights over the past month. The server update is underway. We're doing it in stages to ensure minimal downtime for staff. The water sampling of the small drinking water system has resumed at Lake Whitaker with the season started May 1st. And various staff were able to help out Upper Thames River Conservation Authority with hosting the London Middlesex Children's Water Festival, May 8th to 12th. They lucked out beautiful weather and a great turnout by over 4,000 grades 2 and 5 students getting out in person again for that event. And in just a reminder, it will be our turn to host that festival next year. The 2023 Kettle Creek Environmental Youth Corps started their season as well with an event planting shrubs on the north side of Lake Margaret in late April. So nice to see them back out and started up this season. And as I mentioned, the campgrounds are open and looking forward to a very busy, dry, long weekend coming up.
Doesn't happen very often. Any questions for Elizabeth on the report?
Question, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you. It's kind of a sidebar. I just wonder if Betsy was on, on the call, what the update on Lake Margaret, or with all the planting that had taken place in the last year or two, if it was a successful plant, or do they have to go back in and replant a lot of the trees?
Through you, Mr. Chair, unfortunately, Betsy was unable to attend the meeting today, but I
Okay,
can reach out to her and get her to give you that update personally.
that'd be fine. Yep, thank you. It was kind of an interesting thing to be involved in, that was all. I just wanted to make sure that it was worthwhile. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Not, we'll move down to watershed conditions and Jennifer's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things. The water levels in watershed have been responding to the rain events that we've had in the last month. And they're slightly higher than normal right now, but I mean, for this time of year, it'll start to drop. As Elizabeth mentioned, the Lake Whitaker small drinking water systems are up and running for the 2023 camping season. And we're hopefully starting field work shortly for the KCCA enhanced floodplain mapping project that's happening in Dog Creek's watershed this year.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions?
Question again through the chair.
Go ahead.
I just wonder, when you're talking Lake Whitaker small drinking water system, how often is that water tested for the camping season? Do they just do it once a year or every month, or just to stay on top of it?
Mr. Chair, to Jim, the small drinking water system is monitored daily for residual chlorine. It's the water quality is tested every day for
every day.
residual chlorine, and then we do bacteria sampling twice a month during the operating season. So there's three
thank
small
you.
drinking systems.
Good, thanks.
Any other questions? If not, we have a recommendation that matters rising that A through C be received. Herbert secretary, please. Todd?
Herbert,
Frank?
Herbert,
Call the vote, please.
Alderman Sands.
Yes.
Spurs,
Yes.
Herbert,
yes,
Noble.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
and the motion passes.
Okay. Move down to correspondence, first correspondence from Middlesex County. Golf tournament, if anybody's interested, I can't be there. Conservation Ontario's comments on proposed planning act, City of Toronto, any comments there? Yes, sir?
No, both pieces were for the information of board members.
Okay, there's no questions, recommendations that correspondence be received. Noble and Herbert?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Alderman Sands.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Spurs,
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes, sorry.
Noble, Wilson,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. No statement of revenue and expense. Off to do business, first is budget planning process.
Yeah, so since 2015, we've undertaken a 4-year budget process, really mirroring the budget process that the City of London does. It's a great planning exercise, and I do stress that other than submitting it to the City of London as part of their process, it's really a planning document for this authority. So we go through that 4-year budget process. You'll have lots of chance to vet it and look at it. But then we also go back on a yearly basis and approve it on an annual basis and have an opportunity to tweak it as things change throughout that 4-year process. So the purpose of this report was basically just to show you the outline, a draft outline of how I see that process working this year. Beginning with today, just outlining the budget process. I am intending on putting a survey out circulating to get feedback on our programs and services with the public and various other board members, staff, and other user groups that are using our programs and services, and be able to feed that information back into this process. Our budget, so that will happen from basically May 18th to June 2nd. That survey will be available, and then staff will use that feedback to develop budget priorities and work plans that will begin to vet with you at the June meeting. And then throughout the summer months, we'll be focusing in on that 4-year operational budget, presenting a draft in August, and then looking at a capital 4-year budget plan in September. The next phase is really circulating that draft budget out for municipal input and review. That should happen in October and November. And then it's officially circulated for a 30-day consultation with our member municipalities through November and December. Final edits brought back early in 2024. And then the final phase is the budget approval. And again, we'll be releasing the final draft budget for a 30-day notice to member municipalities, January 17th. We'll do a final look at the budget with the 2023 actuals early in February 7th, and all working towards that ultimate approval of the 2024 budget on February 21st, which will be slated for our annual general meeting. So I'm looking for approval of that basic draft outline of our budget process this year, as well as I did circulate a draft of the programs and services survey that I'm hoping to circulate out to public, board members, staff, and other user groups, just to get some feedback on our current programs and services, and as well as feedback on maybe some things that we're not meeting public need on right now, but they can identify those and we can add that into our budget and planning process moving forward. So the recommendation is that the budget planning timeline be approved and that further the programs and services survey be released.
Laurie, go ahead.
In regards to putting the survey out, are you planning on utilizing some of the Facebook groups that are out there, like the Dalewoodians, et cetera? They are targeted to that neighborhood Facebook group, and if you would like, I could see about getting that posted on their website, and if there's, or Facebook page, and if there's any others that you think would be recommended, I can do that, try to do that as well.
Sure. Our plan right now, Marianne has a plan to share it widely on our social media platforms, as well as we're targeting some direct emails to some of our lists, our contact list as well. But certainly any community groups that you're involved with that have social media platforms, we're open to having that circulated to staff, and we'll make every effort to get it out there.
Thank you. So
Go ahead. Oh, absolutely. Any other questions, concerns? I know I went through the survey quickly, and it looks really good. It's fairly quite thorough. So Laurie moved, seconder. John?
Baldwin Sands,
yes,
Burrs,
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes,
Noble,
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes,
Jones,
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Okay. Go down to item B, Dale Dam options. Elizabeth and Jennifer taking this one.
I'll maybe start with the presentation, and Jen can back up as well. For the returning board members, you know that this has been a struggle that we've had for the last couple of years, and we wanted to give the background for the new members of the board. The Dale Dam is roughly 102 years old. It requires some costly repairs to the concrete, and specifically the spillway and the ring walls have come to light in the last couple of years. Due to the rising costs and limited capital funds, we looked at this again as part of the 2023 budget deliberations, and staff were directed at that time to investigate decommissioning the dam as a viable alternate option to continued maintenance on the dam. So Jen's done some research, reached out to neighboring CAs, who are lots of CAs and other government organizations are struggling with this. We're not the only one. Dams are kind of built all in the same time period in Ontario, and they're all kind of reaching that same age and facing the same maintenance concerns at the same time as well. So staff, through that process of consultation with other CAs and the investigation that we're doing, we're not suggesting that we focus in solely on decommissioning, but rather doing an options assessment on the Dalewood Dam to inform our capital budget planning moving forward. So just to highlight some of the concerns that we've seen, these pictures were taken last year when the water levels were fairly low, and it provided our consultant at the time a better opportunity to get up close to the dam and see some of the basically age spots on it. So in the lower left, you can see the spalling and the void that's directly on the spillway. So the arrow is pointing from the wide picture of the dam. That's roughly where that area is showing up. And the picture to the right is the wing walls. And so it's the same type of thing. You can just see kind of the concrete deteriorating in spots and cracking being visible on there. So what we've talked to other CAs about, there's an options assessment. It provides a cost analysis and investigates the advantages and disadvantages of each option that you may consider. And the options that we're putting forward would be do nothing, minor rehabilitation, kind of try to keep it in this current state that it's in. Major rehabilitation, which is kind of what we were looking at within the 2023 budget. So repairing both the wing wall and the spillway with some concrete repairs. A like-for-like replacement, modified replacement, or a complete decommissioning and removal. And so what staff are proposing is to get a consultant to look at each one of those options, give a cost analysis of each, and give you pros and cons of each option. And then that gives you all the information that this board would need to come up with a very informed decision moving forward. So a full cost options assessment, Jen's already reached out to some local firms as well as the current firm that we're using. And we believe that we can do this cost analysis, this options assessment with a rough budget of 10 to 15,000. So we're asking for an upset limit of $15,000 to undertake this project and come back to you with. This is an unbudgeted expense, but I think it's one that we want to complete in 2023 as we embark on that next 4-year budget. I'm confident that I can find those funds within the existing budget. And there is also a possibility that we could still get unspent WECI funds at the end of the year. So as projects don't complete as part of that program, they reallocate to other projects. And so we can do a late submission and try to get 50% of the cost of this assessment through that program. So the recommendation is that a qualified engineer be retained to prepare an options assessment on the Dale Dam to an upset limit of 15,000.
Right?
Question, yeah. What was the original purpose of the dam? Was it flood control or to build a lake or flood?
The original purpose was really to create a reservoir for drinking water for St. Thomas, and the authority required it after St. Thomas moved to the Lake Erie pipeline.
So it's not required for the original purpose.
It's not required for the original purpose, but it's become part of the community in terms of a focal point.
Okay.
But also more importantly, it has created a provincially significant wetland further upstream.
Gotcha.
So anything, the analysis of a decommissioning would have to take those factors into account as well.
So second question was the original determination, is this surface deterioration or did it go right through?
That's probably the biggest issue with a project of this size. You never know what you're getting at until you start poking. It's kind of like an old house with the old drywall, right? You kind of poke at a hole and then you realize it could be bigger. So that's why we had the discussion during the 2023 budget is we know from the surface, these are the issues and this is the expense to fixing those. But once you get into it, you could get into a bigger problem and a bigger expense. So the concern of staff was that we not only had to have money to fix what we knew about, we also had to have a big contingency to be prepared for what we didn't know about.
And that's where the previous board struggled with is that to begin with, the cost came in a lot higher than what we expected. I can't remember what that number was, but it was a bit of a shock, but that's the way the last few years works. It's COVID.
Yeah.
Is this something for fundraising? Do you think people would throw money in? Who knows? That'll take a while to do, won't it?
Yeah.
What was the cost of the repair? What it was looked at?
So it was, we had Class C engineering estimates for about 550,000, and then quotes came back in at about 750 to 800,000. Okay. For full repair, for everything.
So question, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, Grant. Unfortunately, you started to talk about what I wanted to talk about and you went mute. I couldn't hear anything. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I just wanted to have a detailed report on what happens if you decommission it and take the dam out. I really want to know what's going to happen. That dam's been there since I was a kid. So there must be a reason for it, but I just want to be clear in my mind that if we go that route, that what happens? What are the risks of taking it out? Anyway, you may have already discussed it. I couldn't hear the discussion because I got on mute. So, but anyway, so that was my question.
And Chair, to fully answer Jim's question, I think that's what this option assessment will do. It will give you the high level disadvantages of a decommission. And those social, environmental concerns of decommissioning a dam would be part of that assessment.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions or concerns? Not the recommendations before you. Need a mover and seconder. Frank, seconder. John. Further discussion? Vote, please.
Falcon Sands, yes. Spurs,
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes,
Noble.
Yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
And that motion passes.
Thank you. When we went down to item C, cost apportionment agreement update.
So as we reviewed last month, this is the next step in our meeting our requirements under the Conservation Authorities Act. We're required to negotiate with our member municipalities what's called a cost apportionment agreement for Category 3 programs and services. And if you recall from that presentation, our Category 3 programs and services are services that this board feels are good for the enhancement of the local watershed, and that we are looking for the member municipalities to support through some municipal levy. So for us, it's tree planting and environmental monitoring. Staff developed a draft, of course, cost apportionment agreement and circulated out to your senior staff at your member municipalities. And I'm pleased to say that I got response from all 7 member municipalities. And at this point, they're generally in agreement with the draft that I've put out. We've had some back and forth and some small tweaks, but I'm just really pleased with all 7 member municipalities, at least at the staff level, seeing the merits of this draft apportionment agreement and willing to work together. It's quite a moving thing to get 7 member municipalities in agreement on a draft agreement. And I have to give credit to our neighboring CAs as well. Upper Thames and Asabo Bayfield have been instrumental in coming up with this draft agreement, and everyone trying to work together to try to get a template that's kind of the same. So it's less onerous for our member municipalities. We are proposing an initial term of 5 years for the agreement. This will allow for the council to have the new council to have an opportunity to renew the agreement, and then the renewal will be every 4 years after that. A similar draft is being developed by Upper Thames, and just because Upper Thames and us share Middlesex, London, and Thames Center. So we've been working really closely with Upper Thames to get a somewhat similar draft out, and that so far is working. We're seeking approval today basically to distribute this draft to legal counsel for review and comment. And any suggested edits from our legal counsel would be incorporated into this draft. And then I would send it back out to your municipal councils for council's review and any comments that they have on it with the hopes that we can finalize this and get it approved by fall 2023. This needs to be in place for January 1st, 2024, but I'm hoping to have it done well in advance of that timeline. So the recommendation that, subject to legal review, the draft cost apportionment agreement for Category 3 programs and services be approved for circulation to member municipalities.
Questions, Lori? Sorry. Seconder?
Oh, she just moved it. So-
Yeah, Lori moved it. John seconded. I know, from, at least from my perspective, I think, all the municipalities understand the pressures conservation authorities are on and the reductions in, funds from the province too, which hasn't helped anything, so. You know, we spend a lot of money putting planting trees and we don't intend on dropping the ball now. Any further call the vote then?
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Spurs.
Yes.
Herbert,
Yes,
Noble.
Yeah.
Wilson.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
and that motion passes.
Down to the last item, new business, May planning and regulations with Joe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just looking for receipt of the advanced report with planning and permit activity from staff, but I'm also happy to answer any questions if members have any.
Anybody see anything that popped up? They're going through the package. I didn't, so.
No.
Standard.
There's no questions to go. The recommendation is to receive. Todd, seconder,
Herbert,
Herbert,
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Spurs.
Yes.
Herbert,
yes,
Noble.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Jones,
yes.
and that motion passes.
Okay, that comes down to closed session. From me what we're going to post for.
It was legal, personnel, and property.
For a second, go to close. Todd, Frank. All vote, please.
Baldwin Sands.
Yes.
Spurs.
Yes.
Herbert,
yes.
Noble.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
And we're entering closed at 10:27.
I'll just stop the recording and the live stream.